Hello, everybody! Hope you're all doing well. Sorry about the little bit of a delay, just some stuff going on, but it's all good now. Everything's a little more, just not as loud. But we are back with some more Grisaia today. Also, I decided to do a thing. That was what I did for the collab, but last time. I now have the audio be separated. It's not my desktop audio. Like that for like Grisaia and stuff like that. I have it just capturing the sound from Grisaia itself. Only Grisaia. So, yeah. I want to try that out because it seemed to work really well with just Discord and Jen talking. So, we'll see how it goes just by using it with the actual game itself. It should be coming through to you guys, I'm pretty sure. I mean, it's showing up on the bar there that it's broadcasting, but you never know. I've always got to double check. You know me. You know me by now. Check it, check. Alright, yeah, I hear that coming through. Beauty. If you guys think the game is too loud or too quiet or I am too quiet or any of that, just please let me know and I can adjust accordingly. I feel like the game might be a little louder the way I'm doing it now, even though I have it set to, you know, the exact same things. Go figure. Anyway. We are continuing on with Fruit of Grisaia for today. Back on Yumiko's road. Still going through her backstory, which... Fuck, I gotta remember to put the content warning on there again. There, updating the title. I keep forgetting to do that. Because holy hell. It's pretty rough so far. Like, oh my god. I was getting really disturbed. And I'm sure a few of you were probably also kind of disturbed at all. But what the hell was happening? Specifically how Yumiko herself in the past was reacting to everything. Oh my god. Just to kind of recap, it's still back in her past. She's still reminiscing and telling Yuji everything. Her mother's still in the hospital, kind of thing. She's an outcast from the rest of her family and at her school. Her mother's the only, like, kind of connection she has. And, one day her mother just kind of says, "Why couldn't you have been born a boy?" That made Yumiko kind of freak out. It's like, of all the things you could have said, it had to be the one thing I can't change and can't fix. Just to herself, crying to herself. Taking a box cutter to her hair to cut it short. Oh, Lord. And then even after all that, her mother getting better, everything seems hunky-dory. It turns out her dad's gonna divorce her and has a son with a mistress. Finding this out via a magazine, by the way, not even in person. She gets to that hospital in time for the divorce lawyers to be there to try and talk to her mom about it, you know, just to formally serve her the divorce papers. And even though she tries to stop them, there's kind of no point because she's already gone, because she already read the magazine herself and is just standing out on the roof in the middle of a thunderstorm. And from what I can tell, has completely forgotten who Yumiko is entirely. Is just so completely broken now. And, well, that also makes Yumiko a little broken after watching her mother being taken away. Because now she's just officially lost it. So yeah, imagine a child being held back by a nurse as their mother is dragged away. It was some rough stuff. Very, very rough stuff. We're not even done. I don't know what more this can show us. Though we at least kind of have an answer on why she's terrified of thunder and stuff. Definitely brings back bad memories from that day. But we're still going, apparently. So, I'm going to start off right away with content warning. Just right away. Absolutely right away. Grisaia deals with some very heavy topics and situations. I still need to fix that. If at any moment you feel uncomfortable watching and need to walk away or close the stream, please do so. We all understand. Oh boy, it is a hard thing to do. This game is just rough on every level. On absolutely every level, this game is rough. Oh boy. Anyhow, we're gonna load up our save and we're gonna get into it. I guess, yeah, that's just what we're gonna do. Yeah, we're still delving into her past. Oh boy, we're gonna see how far we can get today. If we can get out of her backstory this stream, that'd be great. If we can't, well, we'll eventually get out of it. I mean, I don't want it to reach Amane lengths of backstory, because that took forever to get through. I mean, granted, I do talk to you guys a lot through it, but I do not need Amane length of backstory for a single. I don't need a literal day-by-day play-by-play. Also, again, just as a quick reminder, everyone, if you were enjoying the DDLC Plus collab I was having with Jen yesterday, we are continuing on with that tomorrow. We are going to be skipping through the main game just so we can unlock the extra stuff that we really, really, really want to see. I still need to fix that, by the way. You know, after the game crashed as I tried to save it at the end there. It's like, god damn it. But I think our first little collab there went off really well. A few little tech hiccups, but we got those sorted out fairly quickly too, so I'm happy. Very happy. Very, very happy. I wanted to do that for a long time. Okay. And just because this is the backstory sections of these, I will do my, I guess, at this point, it's like kind of like my generic-ish girl voice I have. Just to differentiate their narration from the normal Yuji narration. I don't know, it's what I've been doing for a while. You guys have seen it enough, so yeah. Sometimes, I hate that this country has 4 seasons. Just when I'm finally starting to forget, an autumn wind reminds me of a whispered insult. Winter skies bring back cold and lonely memories. And in summer, when the sudden evening storms arrive, I'm torn apart with every clap of thunder. Again and again, until there's nothing left. 1 year after my mother's relapse, things had quieted down. The commotion at the hospital created a bit of a stir around town, but it didn't take long for the talk to trickle to a halt. For one thing, the main character in the story was no longer a resident. And even our cold-hearted country gossips seemed hesitant to turn a gravely ill woman's condition into one of their nasty little jokes. I was absent from school for a week after the incident, recovering from the shock and a mild case of pneumonia, but my life eventually returned to its normal rhythm. That would be the superficial summary, at least. The trauma of reading that magazine article led to a dramatic downturn in my mother's condition. She was now suffering from acute memory loss. Her physician, my grandparents, my father, and me. We were all strangers to Mom now. Everyone she met slipped out of her mind within minutes. Also, I'm gonna be right back. I'm gonna be doing something quick. Gonna take care of something, so I shall BRB. Sorry it's so early, but yeah, it just happened, so Sorry, BRB. And I just realized on that BRB screen, you guys are not going to have the music anymore from the game. Because I have the audio separate. I should probably add that in then next time. Next time I remember. Knowing me, I probably won't because I am a dumb. But we'll see.
These symptoms were far beyond anything a local hospital was equipped to handle. Soon after the incident, Mom was transferred to a specialized psychiatric institution in North Kanto. Ironically enough, that divorce never actually came to pass. Perhaps my father backed off out of concern for his public image? That, or it was part of some conditional legal arrangement. I don't know. One thing, however, was perfectly clear. The connection between the Sakaki and Kawamoto houses had been severed. My two families spent the first months after the incident squabbling by proxy about legal issues and the care of their mutual burdens. In the end, the Sakaki continued to cover my mother's medical expenses, but they were no longer providing supplementary support to the Kawamoto family's floundering business.
美佐子の件だけは責任を取らせたけど、これで支援もなくなって、どうするつもりですか、あなた。
つつましくやっていけばなんとかなる。すまんが、しばらくは我慢をしてくれんか。
歴史のある川本の家がこんな粗末な生活をするようになるなんて。しかもあの子の面倒まで見なければいけないなど。こんなバカな話がありますか?
Oh my god, alright, I still hate the grandparents. Still hate the grandparents, they're just... God, they have zero love for their granddaughter.
まったく、なぜこんなことになってしまったのかな?
Use your daughter as a political bargaining chip. That's what you did to deserve this.
Even long after the matter was settled, my grandparents never seemed to tire of moaning about the unfairness of it all. And of course, as the easiest target for their bitterness, I once again found myself wedged between a rock and a hard place. I had the bare minimum required for a normal life. They always kept up appearances, after all. But not a day went by when I didn't hear sarcastic, scornful words from the shadows. I went to a silent school and returned to a silent home. I'd lost my refuge. I'd lost my hope. All I could do was suffer quietly. This would be the point where a normal person might go bad.
Hey Mochi, how's it going, buddy? How do you manage to stay so handsome? I don't know, maybe I'm born with it, maybe it's Maybelline? How's it going, buddy? I feel like my chair's lower. I was by like the half an inch. That's oh my hey Mari, how you guys doing? I got some of my favorite people in the world here right now. I use both your wonderful commands because I like these commands. You doing good, Mari? Good. I'm doing pretty good. Just my normal tired. Ain't going good, man. I see Yumiko's backstory's treating you. Well, it's treating you. Yep. Yep, it is. God, thank you so much. You're very welcome, Mari. Who can play that handsome game, Sir Baron? Hey, Nick, how's it going, bud? Doing good, good, good. Baron, stop being so slutty. I can't help it. Okay, I can't help it. Especially when Mari's around, I can't help but slut it up. I am her hoe, after all. I was here the whole time, didn't want to be the one. I'm first, dick. Ah, that's fine. Can't confirm we signed a contract. Yeah. Yeah, she owns me at this point. Whatever. I signed it, so it means I approved of it. Oh my god, Mochi. But I'm glad everyone's doing good today. Very, very glad. Hopefully this doesn't bring down the mood. Because it's a Grisaia backstory, and that always seems to be a downer and a half. Also, Mari, I feel like an absolute idiot. And Mochi, I feel like an absolute idiot. I finally learned how to make audio separate. Like, I just have the audio from Grisaia right now, not the rest of my desktop. I still have that muted. Why was I an idiot and not learning that was an option? Yeah, you can ellipses me all you guys want. I understand. 2 years, and I realized that was a fucking option. No, I didn't know how to do that before either. 2 years, and I finally realized that. You got a new advice. It's called TikTok. God. And I only realized that was an option because of the collab yesterday. It's like, hey, how do I get just the audio from Discord to play out without the rest of my desktop noises happening at once, so I don't get, like, potential double audio or something if I don't want it to happen? Well, I found my answer. Literally an option in Stream Elements. It worked out perfectly. So I'm gonna slowly do that here. How actually do you do that? I was looking around to try to figure it out. If you use, I use it through Streamlabs desktop, it is straight up an option on here as part of, sources. It is the general source called Application Audio Capture Beta. You just click that, and then you choose what window from whatever ones you have open that you want to capture audio from. Okay, you don't use Streamlabs? Okay. I feel like there's probably also an option in OBS for that. I'm actually gonna... It looks like there's something for OBS. I think. Maybe? I don't know OBS, like, at all. But I feel like it has to be. If fucking Streamlabs desktop has it, OBS absolutely has to. It's gotta be there. I swear. How to capture application-specific audio. How many steps did they say this was? I'm doing a deep dive here. Because why not? I always do deep dives. Oh! According to this, Mari, it is in OBS as well. OBS Studio actually also has application audio capture. Yeah. That actually is a source that you can choose. So yeah, okay. You're gonna look right now? Yeah, honestly. It's actually perfect, just getting audio from a specific application. Honestly, it's probably the most handiest thing in the world, and I wish I had figured that out sooner. It took a fucking collab for me to figure that out. Yeah, it is still a beta, just all around, so there might be some issues, but I had no issues yesterday so far, and a bunch of people aren't reporting any issues as far as I know, so, hey, it's still something very useful. I like it. I like it so far for now the 2 things I've used it for. Oh, you see it now? Okay, perfect. There. Is that new since it's beta? Possibly? When the hell did this come? When did they add this thing? Looks... Going back to videos, like on YouTube it's showing it. I think it might have been... I'm like quickly scrolling through a video. Huh. It looks like it's been around for a while, I guess. At the very least, since like 2021, apparently. It just had a different name. It was just Application Audio Output Capture back then. Huh. Weird. Still, useful. So there, leveling up our streamer game. Apparently Mochi was already 1 step ahead of us with that. Okay, that's why you're smarter than the average bear. Ugh. Just too smart. Yumiko, please don't break bad. Oh my god. This is no time for a Winnie the Pooh lesson, Baron. Oh, bother. Pooh is good all the time. There is never a moment when you cannot have a Pooh. Yeah, that was deliberate on my part, but do I care? No! It's my stream. I'll say what I want. Yeah, I know, okay? I know. It was really forced. Shut up. Sometimes they can't all be winners. So yeah, that's just me being an idiot about not learning how my audio stuff works. Now I do. And everything is just going to be potentially a little easier. I mean, my sources might get a little more cluttered, depending on what I do, but I mean, they're already a clusterfuck as is. Oh, well. That's fine. It's totally fine. Yeah, we're gonna see how far we can get into the rest of Yumiko's backstory. I kinda hope I finish it today, but I probably won't. I don't know. I also don't know how much further this can go. What other trauma can Yumiko possibly go through? You'll probably finish it today? Okay, I'll trust you on that, Mochi. Definitely trust you on that. You definitely know more. Because you've played it before. This is still me playing this stuff for the first time. It's taken me over a year. I'm very slow at playing this game. Along with many, many other games. But soon, in the very near future, I can add Fruit of Grisaia to the game's completed list. It is soon. The days are coming. It's almost here. Almost. Excuse me.
But I had been living inside a cage for so long that not even that choice was available to me. There was a time, just once, when I tried approaching a group of girls with that sort of reputation. The result was pathetic. In that country town, even the delinquents were mindful of appearances. They turned their backs on me and walked away without a word. Shunned even by those lowest on the totem pole. For a long moment, I just stood there, rooted to the spot. And then I found myself looking up into the sky. It looked no different from the day I'd gazed out the window with my mother. Had Mom always been alone? Was that why she'd spent so much time watching something that never really changed? Now that I was well and truly isolated, I'd begun to think more about her feelings.
泣くこともできないのね。
It seemed like a moment worthy of a little sobbing, but it just wasn't happening. On that day in the rain, I'd used up my lifetime supply of tears. All that was left was a parched, withered husk of a human being. For 1 long year, I did nothing but watch the sky change slowly above me. But soon enough, I was pulled down into the muddy stream once again.
Oh, great. One more trauma.
It was a little before the start of summer vacation. Our teacher had fallen ill that afternoon. The final lesson was replaced by a study hall, which I'd spent gazing dully out the window.
She was channeling her inner anime protagonist. Just sit there and just stare out the window, without a care in the world.
That exercise in pure boredom finally complete, I was walking sluggishly down the road toward my grandparents' house, just turning the final corner onto our street.
あれ
Something was wrong about this picture. A shiny black luxury car was parked along the thickly hedged road in front of our house. The Kawamoto family didn't own a private automobile. My grandfather apparently had one back in the days when the business was doing well, but it was one of the first things to go when the recession hit. The negotiations with the Sakaki family had always been held in the business office by the station, so it was hard to imagine why such a car could have possibly come.
誰だろう
For a little while, I dawdled outside, staring curiously at the car with its thickly tinted windows. But after 2 or 3 minutes, a voice called to me from inside our house.
遅かったじゃないの由美子ちゃん。早く上がって。
I was startled. The friendly attitude was one thing, but it was the very first time I'd arrived at since I'd arrived that my grandmother had called me by my name. Oh my god.
How many fucking years you spend living here? And this is like the first time they said your name? I hate her grandparents. A lot. Like, just a lot. Her grandparents are pieces of shit.
She wouldn't have done that without a very good reason.
Okay, yeah, backstory's close to done. Alright, cool.
はい。
After quickly removing my shoes, I let her usher me into the parlor. It was the first time in a good 4 years that I'd been in that room. Oh my god. They restricted where she could go in. Oh my god, I hate them even more. The instant I crossed the threshold, 5 men in black suits stood up simultaneously and bowed in greeting.
4 years. 4 years, her grandmother never referred to her by name and never let her into the parlor. God damn, no wonder she swipes at people with a fucking box cutter.
As I blinked in bewilderment, my grandmother spoke, a strange little smile twisting her face.
ほらそこに座って。由美子ちゃんが話に入らないと進まないことなんだから。
And with that, she sat me at the head of the table. The dusty air of the rarely used parlor tickling my nose, I looked around me. All 5 of the men had deeply serious expressions on their faces. To be honest, I wanted nothing more than to run away.
一体何の話なんですか？こんな急に。
As soon as the question left my mouth, a man seated to my left took control of the conversation.
お父様、榊道明様の命により、由美子様をお迎えに上がりました。
お迎えに。
はい。お父様は昨年の一件で、由美子様をとても心配していらっしゃいました。
Oh, suddenly he wants
そ
something
れ
to
で
do with her.
こうしてお迎えに上がった次第です。
What on earth was this man talking about? After the incident with Mom, my father hadn't shown up in this house even once. I understood that he had a busy professional life, but he didn't even bother to send a message or place a phone call. Now they expect me to believe he was worried? Now, after a full year. Ridiculous. It was mystifying Grandma had even let them into the house, let alone with that simpering grin on her face. Didn't she understand this was nonsense? But soon I discovered that my grandmother's reactions were perfectly lucid, for reasons that had nothing to do with any of that.
よかったわね、由美子ちゃん。これでいい学校に通えるし、お父様とも一緒に住めるのよ。
Yeah, you could finally get out of my house so I could be a fucking bitch in peace. And constantly, oh, I don't have any money anymore. I spent it all taking care of my worthless granddaughter. Blah, 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 blah. I hate her grandparents so much. I saw your reaction to last time, by the way. Seeing someone traumatized by Grisaia never gets old. Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah. Why did Yumiko's have to have the most fucked up backstory? At least the one that was, the most disturbing to me. Compared to, the one that actually had real fucking cannibalism in it. Oh, man. What the fuck were they on when they wrote this?
いろいろあったが、これからは何の心配もしないで暮らせるんだ。よかったな。
お父様からもまたこの家を助けていただけるそうで、本当によかったわ。
Oh, yay! They're giving us money again!
Probably so they never have to talk to us ever again. If it means getting you the fuck out of my house, I don't care. Give me all the yen in the world. I fucking hate this grandmother. I hate her so much.
Can you tell I'm, like, peeved? Personally, Amane is always a fave just because how much was in it. It's damn near its own story. Yeah, it took up 90% of her fucking route! Like, what the hell? 90% of her route was backstory. Not much story left to tell with that one. Even if it did end with them being literally hunted down with a shotgun. Though, I mean, that ending did make me cry. It did make me cry. That ending did make me cry. But also, Sachi's, you know, like, kind of like her ending, at least leading up to her ending, that made me cry. Michiru's other self talking to her mom made me cry. Machina, desert. Dry as a bone. That's my one grievance with Amane's route, was that it was mostly backstory, but the backstory was well written, so I don't mind. It was very well written, but again, that's just the backstory for her route, but it takes up a majority of it, so that's like that's kind of sucks. It is a good story, but why is the really good story taking up what should be the actual story we need to experience? Whatever. Still a good route. I still enjoyed it. I still have to rank these routes once I'm done. Yo, fucking Yumiko's here.
Ah. Now I understood. This was a question with no choices. My grandparents had decided the answer beforehand and were now unilaterally forcing me toward it. I was so profoundly astonished at their naked self-interest that I couldn't even manage any anger. But it's not as if snapping at them would have achieved anything in the first place. Remaining with them was probably never really an option.
わかりました。すぐに準備をしてきます。
When I stood from my seat, my grandmother spoke in a sickeningly sweet voice.
あらあら、そこまで急がなくてもいいのよ。榊家の方は明日もまたいらっしゃるというし、それまで。
Okay, thank you for being quiet, Granny. To be fair, with a lot of personal connections that happen with Amane, happen in her H scenes, that's why she is more than any of the other characters with 5, but obviously can't really read H scenes on stream. True. Very, very true. But, I mean, even without the H scenes, we still get, you know, we still get enough. We still get a full story out of it. Which is good. It's still good that we're still getting a story, even though they have to cut out sections of the entire, all the routes, because can't show that on stream, can't be doing that on an all-ages platform thing. I mean, thank you, Steam, for doing that, and also the Steam exclusive CGs to replace some of the, you know, actual H-scene CGs. I mean, that's more effort than I expect a lot of other, things to do. So I gotta applaud them for that. They went the extra mile, making some replacement CGs. Even if one of them is just, okay, we added a little more, bit more suds on Sachi's boobs, and also completely edited out Yuji's penis. It's like, it's the same CG, we just censored it more. God oh fucking mighty. Yeah, I looked up what some of them were. I had to laugh my ass off when I saw it. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? They took the man's cock away and just added more soap bubbles. Luckily the H scenes are mostly just, well, H scenes, so you still get the experience. True, true, true.
いえ、結構です。今いらっしゃってるのなら、その車に乗っていきます。
There's actually CGs in the Steam version that aren't even in the normal sections of the OG, literally Steam exclusives. Yeah! I think I've read possibly somewhere there's some kind of mod you can do to get both the H scenes and also the Steam exclusive CGs in all one big package. They somehow managed to tie it all together. I mean, the modding community is absolutely insane. I wouldn't be surprised. I'm sure there's at least one Grisaia mod out there. Like, true mod. Who knows? Actually, there probably would actually be really hard, because this is a fully voice-acted game. Which is also just impressive in its own right, that they voice-acted this entire fucking game. Other than Yuji in the narration. Which I think, honestly, is fine. I'm fine with the main character not being voiced. Just in general. Because he is our stand-in. He's our self-insert. You can still mod it, just couldn't be voiced. Yeah, exactly. Unless you wanted to do the Japanese voices yourself. They would sound very off from the actual girls. But... you know someone's done it. I'm sure someone's working on a fan English dub mod of this game. They've done it for other ones. I'm sure there's some English dub fan project slightly in the works. Which would be very, very impressive.
あら、そうなの？由美子ちゃんがそういうのなら仕方ないわよね、あなた。
ああ、もちろんそうだ。由美子のいいようにすればいいからな。
There's actually one of the DLCs you bought where Yuji is fully voiced. You can of course turn it off, but all of his lines in the DLC are voiced. Oh! I almost don't want to have it on. I really don't want to have it on because I already have this idea of what his voice sounds like. And it's mostly me just kind of sounding annoyed and grumpy. That's just kind of the personality I've given him through this. It's just me just kind of sounding, yeah, okay. Just kind of like, just tired with the fucking world. I feel like hearing the actual VA would just ruin this image of Yuji I've already concocted in my head. Especially with just how I do his stupid jokes and, like, him trolling everybody. It probably just is super, very deadpan and flat in Japanese. Which, I mean, is fine. He's kind of, like, got no fucking emotion. I'm giving him emotion. I've given Yuji emotion. Yeah, I left the voice off too, except for select lines where I was curious. The VA does a great job. Oh, I'm not surprised he would do a great job. Like, I mean, the voice acting for the girls is phenomenal. So they get one person to do Yuji, it's gonna go great. They wouldn't just grab some rando. Some random guy's like, yeah, just say this stuff. We don't care. But it's just become a personal thing. Cause I've been Yuji's voice this whole time. So I have this idea in my head about it. And hearing anything else, like hearing someone else speak his lines, it just wouldn't be the same. You kind of get what I'm trying to say here. It's only in the DLC. All the main games he's not voiced. Okay, just the DLC. Interesting. I totally get that. Kadoa Shoujo made me weird about voices VNs in general. Yeah. Yeah, voiced VNs, yeah. There is actually currently a fan dub project ongoing to, well, you know, fan dub Katawa Shoujo, which I think is actually pretty interesting. I've only heard a few snippets, but I've honestly kind of liked it. Because these are people that are definitely better voice actors, even if amateur voice actors or whatnot. Definitely more professional than me. They can actually speak lines without hacking up a lung half the time. Sometimes it's more fun to imagine voices for the characters. Yeah. Yeah, it is. It honestly really is. Dude, God, fucking Katawa Shoujo, fucking Nomiya. The voice I kind of had in my head and attempted to do, but failed spectacularly, was that guy trying to buy art in fucking SpongeBob. That's how I imagined his voice. The fucking guy trying to buy art from Squidward in SpongeBob. It seemed to work. What my attempt at it was different, but I think it still worked. And also making Muto just kind of very bored and monotone, because that's just kind of the vibe I got from him. He's just kind of a, yeah, okay. More like belongs in the trash. God almighty. Oh, I love early SpongeBob. I absolutely love early SpongeBob. It's just too good. Usually if he in his voice, I'll let the voices stay on because that was the intended experience. Yeah. Yeah, that's why I went with kept them on for all of this. Also to
Save my poor throat from having to voice 5, 6 girls in one scene all together talking to each other. I would destroy it immediately. I probably wouldn't be able to talk for a little while. So it saved my throat, but it was also kind of fun. It is still kind of fun just voicing Yuji and trying to play off of these Japanese voices and inflections, trying to make it fit. And I think it does good. I feel like I'm in the scene when I do it. I feel that imagine I had to voice all of Higurashi, Mochi, fucking SD Gundam G Generation's Cross Rays. A single mission. There were like 20 characters in it. I think at most there was like maybe 8 characters in one scene together talking to each other. How I managed that, I don't know. I don't know how I did it. I don't know how I managed half the crap I've done. My stream seemed to be watch Baron talk to himself back and forth for a few hours. It is still fun though. It's just obviously it's like, oh my god. I really think about it. It's like I'm literally sitting here talking to myself in different voices over and over again. If you took away the game and the computer in front of me, I would look insane. But I mean, we're all a little crazy in some respect. Not VN streamers ranting about the pros and cons of VN streaming. Oh, so true. I mean, I love these. I love these VNs I've done so far, and I want to do more. I'm going to do more. I mean, I've got 2 more full Grisaia games plus a bunch of DLC. So, yeah, I'm set there. Plus, there's all the other stuff I've got on here. I mean, a certain someone gave me Muv-Love. I have all of Nekopara. Got Love Cube. I had a lot here. And then that's not even discounting the games that just have none unspoken dialogue. By the way, my friend finally met Rin. He enjoys the gremlin. Oh my god. Fucking god. I could not connect with Rin. I just couldn't. I couldn't really. She's not my thing. I couldn't get. She was my least favorite route. Just
I guess because I couldn't really understand her. I didn't have any kind of connection I could really latch onto compared to everybody else. Especially Lily. God, I love Lily. Lily's amazing. Because of course she is. Lily's just great. I thought she was funny, but as a romantic connection, I couldn't really. Yeah. But I mean, that's just her route. It's supposed to be one of those really make you think kind of routes. Like, really make you think. Just watching someone, like, literally break themselves down over and over again to try to rebuild themselves. He hasn't completely fallen into the Emmy trap, but he did say yes to exercise. He's in the Emmy trap. He's fallen into the Emmy trap. The minute you say yes to exercise, you're done. Like, you're done. The minute you say yes to that, you're locked in. They're getting Emmy route. $5 right now. They're getting Emmy route just because they said yes to exercise. It does not matter what you do after that. I swear to God. You are locked in. In fact, I know I'm kind of taken away from Grisaia right now, but I'm looking for myself right now. That big, giant fucking, web I sent you a while ago. Because, fuck, Katawa's got a giant flowchart. Yep. Once you exercise and decide to go for it, you're immediately locked onto Emmy's route. Just immediately. There is no going back. Unless somehow you got stuff with Shizune. Unless you somehow got 2 pluses for Shizune, which is honestly very hard to do. So yeah, saying yes to exercise of going for it, that is going to either get you to Shizune, depending on choices you made before, or you're immediately locked into Emmy. 9 times out of 10, it's Emmy. Well, technically you can still escape if you don't push yourself on the track, but I don't know. Yeah, the minute you push yourself on the track, you're locked in. You're abso-fucking-lutely locked in. You do take it easy. You are, oh, boy. Where do you go from here? Oh, if you take it easy on the track, you'll either potentially be thrown into a Shizune's route, or get thrown onto the Lily Hanako route. And then it's just choices from there. Decide which one you go to. Oh, actually, there's even a small chance of getting to the Rin route from there. Okay, that's actually very interesting then. I mean, there's a few options, but I can almost guarantee Emmy route. I will put $5 down. You tell me whether or not it actually happens, I will literally donate $5 to you, you moch. Why is Rin's route so asinine to get onto? Because it is! You gotta go out of your way to really, ignore everybody else to get on Rin's route. It's a pain in the ass. You cannot accidentally stumble onto Rin's route. Like, you just cannot. There is no, there is no accidentally getting onto Rin's route. Absolutely not. Emmy's route is you can very easily accidentally get onto it. Everybody else, I mean, if you avoid that Emmy flag, you're all set. You can get onto the Lily Hanako route or Shizune route somewhat easily, depending on, focusing your answers to them. But again, Emmy is such a trap, it is so easy to get on her route. So easy. Like, pretty much everyone's first route is going to be Emmy. So they enjoy all of it. All 3 sex scenes, including Lemons in the Shed. I'm betting he'll either get Emmy, Lily, or Hanako. He doesn't like Shizune or Misha. Not a lot of people do. I have a soft spot for Shizune. I do have a soft spot for her. But Lily, number one. Always. Always and will be. You can't beat Lily. Anyway, I should probably get back to Grisaia. Yeah, just let me know what they get onto. Again, $5 down, it's Emmy. If it's anybody else, I owe you $5, Moch. It's my bad? No worries, no worries. You know I like my little chats. You know that. It's a staple of this stream. An absolute staple.
I was about ready to vomit. From my grandmother's words, it seemed clear the Sakaki had come with a clear offer in hand. My return in exchange for restored financial support to the Kawamoto business.
Nobody likes Misha. Not the right people like Misha. Not even the game like... Yeah, true. She is endearing, though. I do like her story. Just in general. Like, Shizune's route is basically the Shizune and Misha route. It's because they're both together all the time. Obviously. Baron definitely chose to comfort her. Hey! There is video proof of me not comforting Misha. There is video proof. I did not. I got that good end. I turned the lesbian down. Which is really weird in context. She wanted comfort and sex from a man despite being a lesbian. Yeah, that's really weird. And also, actually, everyone hates that it's called comfort. It's like, that's not what comfort means. But I guess that's just the trap. Everyone's probably like, yeah, click that, comfort her, make her feel okay. And then it's just, oh boy. That's not what we wanted to do. No, back up, we don't want to do that. Yeah, that's true. She isn't a bad...
Submit!
Fucking Christ, Nick. Yeah, she was in a bad mind space. That was the whole point of that scene. Which I'm so glad they cut out the other stuff in that there were going to be in that game, like her just walking into traffic. To end it. There's a lot of... Yeah, you look it up a bit. There's a lot of darker stuff that they cut out of Shizune's route, specifically. That was just a little too dark and out of tone with every other fucking route in the game. Oh my god. I'll get into that another time. I have to continue this. Yeah, my damn nose. It feels like there's something in there, but there isn't, or it tickles all the time. I hate it. I really gotta blow my nose a little more. All my homies hate Yumiko's grandparents. Yeah! Rightfully so. Very rightfully so. Like, fuck. These people suck.
My grandparents had considered me a burden from the start, so I imagine they didn't exactly hesitate. It probably felt like selling some piece of junk from the backyard for a huge sum at auction. I tried muttering the words, but couldn't manage much conviction. After all, I was scuttling around the same sordid web. How could I complain? I wasn't working for my food. I pulled all the clothes out of the chest of my drawers, threw them onto my tatami mat, and scowled down at them.
Sayonara.
I wasn't speaking to my grandparents, the house, or even my mother. It was a farewell to the person who had lived here, idly wasting day after empty day, accomplishing nothing but growing older. I spoke those words to confirm a simple fact. That room was nothing to me. It held nothing of me.
Oh, okay then. This is a thing. Going a little far here.
One by one, I cut the clothes I'd worn in the place to shreds. The expensive-looking children's clothes I'd brought with me. The generic, ready-made supermarket clothes my grandparents had bought me when the need arose. My middle school uniforms. My face in a motionless mask, I carefully chopped them into tiny pieces.
これで終わり。
Jesus, literally destroyed her entire wardrobe. I get it, I'd be disgusted to have anything that reminded me of that hellhole. Yeah. Fair.
My preparations were complete. Grabbing the scrapped clothes with both hands, I shoved them right back into my chest of drawers. It took less than a minute to toss my everyday belongings, art supplies, and sketchbooks into my bag. Just like that, my life in that place was over. I didn't look back.
Honestly, I'd wield a lighter. Good lord.
After a stiff, formulaic goodbye to my grandparents, I dropped by my school for a few brief formalities, then began the journey home. Of course, I hadn't seen that home in many years. I had only the vaguest memories of the house itself. I was sincerely happy to be leaving my grandparents behind, but that didn't make me any less uncertain about the new life being thrust on me so abruptly. The car headed north at high speed, moving from the coastline into the outskirts of the metropolitan area. We were headed for the heart of West Tokyo.
あとどれぐらいで着くのですか？
An elderly man who introduced himself as the chief of the clerical department in my father's company was behind the wheel.
車が混んでいなければ、あと30分もすれば着くかと存じます。
Glancing briefly at his GPS screen, he answered my question in a calm tone.
そうですか。
60 kilometers, as the crow flies. That was the distance from my grandparents' house to that of my father. In the end, my mother had never managed to return a place less than an hour away by car.
Okay, she never managed to return to a place. Okay. God, I can fucking read half the time, as usual. Why do you guys keep coming back when I can't read? I don't get it.
And I, myself, was only coming back on someone else's power. I didn't have the slightest idea what was coming next. I wasn't particularly hopeful, but I didn't feel much in the way of despair either. It would be enough if I could just spend my days quietly until I finally became an adult. With that thought, I closed my eyes and waited for the car to arrive at its destination. Just as the chief secretary had told me, we reached my new home about 30 minutes later.
大きい。
The house was very different from the patchwork image I had sewn together from fragments of my childhood memories. Far more magnificent than I remembered it. From the outside, the building itself looked like a Western-style mansion straight out of a manga. The spacious gardens were surrounded by a high wall. The grounds were covered in so many tall, beautiful trees that it could have been a park. I had hazy memories of those things, but after years in the country, their scale and magnificence took me by surprise. But on an emotional level, the sight left me cold. My father's actions were one thing. My obedient return at his whistle was another. No matter how splendid the house might have been, when I thought about the foundation it was built on, my thoughts naturally took a turn for the bitter.
お母さんと戻ってこられたら
I whispered the words to myself, too softly for the driver taking my luggage from the trunk to hear. Passing through a finely wrought metal gate, I returned to the house I spent my first years in.
Yeah, welcome home.
The uninspiring luxury was all the more pronounced inside the house itself. As I took off my shoes and looked around the gleaming entrance hall, I heard footsteps approaching from a side passage.
Yumiko, 戻ったか。大きくなったな。
Oh, great, Michiaki.
It probably would have taken me some time to recognize the person standing in front of me, if not for the recent photograph I'd seen in a certain magazine 1 year before. Face to face with my father for the first time in what felt like decades, I saw a middle-aged man with a reasonably healthy complexion, but a subtle hint of something like gloom in his eyes.
ただいま戻りました
As I lowered my head in a polite bow, my father continued in the same cheerful tone.
どうした？声に元気がないじゃないか。車に長い時間乗ったから疲れたのか。
A half-hour car ride is long, tiring. Not really. At least not to me.
あの
I was more taken aback than anything else. Considering the way he had treated Mom and me up until that point, his aggressively friendly attitude was incomprehensible. From what I could remember, my father and I had only spoken a bare handful of times when I was a child. And certainly never like that. His motives weren't clear to me, but the sudden attempt at intimacy was off-putting. I didn't quite know how to respond to it.
大丈夫ですちょっとお部屋に戻って休みます
For the moment, I just wanted to cut the nauseating conversation short.
ああ、わかった。ユミコの好きなようにするといいよ。
失礼します
With another bow to my father, I made my way past him, heading for the one part of the house I remembered well. My very first place of refuge. The bedroom in which I had spent so many hours as a young child.
Yeah, fuck this motherfucker. We know, I kind of know what his game is, I think. Possibly. Something happened to his son, I can almost guarantee it. Maybe it just ended up not being his. So he doesn't actually have an heir. That's the only reason I can see him suddenly just, oh yeah, sure, I love you, daughter. Always have. Yeah, that guy's so fucking transparent. He's a piece of glass at this point. Hey, Nichols, we still in sad backstory times? Indeed we are. She's now back home with her father. A year after the shit went down at the hospital with her mom. Hey, how you doing, Nichols?
I climbed the stairs and found my room without the slightest hesitation. Remembering its location so exactly prompted a brief swell of nostalgic emotion, but that soon gave way to that recurring sense of disgust. My memories there weren't exactly happy in their own right.
Also, because good old Nichols is here, gotta use the Nichols command! That's 3 of these commands I've managed to use today in one stream. Gotcha, I've been better but still trucking. How are you? I am doing okay. I'm good. I'm actually pretty good. I'm just tired still, as always. Work is tiring. Shock of shocks. Lifting boxes and going up and down ladders, it can be tiring after a while. Mari's always been here, Nick. She's always here. Always watching. She's making a list. She's checking it twice. Yes, watching. Waiting.
The room I entered for the first time in years was so completely changed that I couldn't help raising my voice in surprise. The badly mismatched desk and bed had been cleared away. In their place was a complete arrangement of fancy furniture and pretty little luxury items. Exactly the sort of things that might appeal to a girl of my age.
She's gonna find out who's naughtier or nice. Nice, you get treats. Naughty, still get treats. By the way, Baron, do you plan to read the Phantom Trigger series as well? It's kind of its own set of stories. Nick just reminded me of them. Possibly? I mean, I'm now getting ads for apparently Grisaia Phantom Trigger or something. So, more than likely I will. I mean, it's probably going to be, you know, a long-ass time before I ever get to that point. Very long-ass time at the rate I go through visual novels. But possibly. Quite possibly. We'll see. Right, sorry, I didn't mean to sound rushing. No worries, no worries. It has been, Steam keeps advertising it to me, so it's not like I'm unaware of it. I might, possibly. Especially if it in any way kind of continues just the, you know, the actual Grisaia story somehow. Even if it really doesn't, who knows? Maybe just a few more adventures with some of the girls and new characters is maybe just something I'd love and do. Because I am attached to the characters already. I do like it. I am attached to them. Even Machina, in her own weird way. But I am attached to these characters. I do like them a lot. So more of them is generally better for me. I'll take more of them.
わざわざ揃えたのかしら。
Every part of the decor seemed as if it could have come straight from the set of a movie. The room was filled with fragile, ephemeral things. It felt as though they'd disappear like soap bubbles if I actually touched them. Normally, they would have made me happy. But at the moment, it seemed a hollow gesture.
お母さん、帰ってきたわよ。
Sitting on my bed, I murmured those words to myself. I had finally managed to return to that house, but my mother wasn't with me. All I had there was a forced, artificial welcome from the man who had broken her. Would I simply resume the same numb, miserable life in a different setting? Staring up at the ceiling, I could feel the familiar jet-black sludge growing thick inside my chest. I fought down the crushing feelings of despair as best I could, closed my eyes, and fell asleep.
Good lord, it's still going.
The next day, my father had arranged beforehand for my transfer into an all-girls school some 20 minutes from the mansion by car. It was a very prestigious institution. I'd actually recognized the name. I felt badly out of place, uncomfortable with my new uniform and the beautiful school building.
ねえ、あの子が。そうよね。榊家の。
Hey, Nevermore. How's it going? I tried taking sleeping pills and woke up 2 hours later, sleep schedule changing, not working. Yeah. Sometimes it's gotta be a very gradual thing. It's like, okay, go to bed an hour earlier, wake up an hour earlier kind of thing. You gotta, like, do it very, very gradually. A big, giant shift never usually works. Gotta really ease yourself into it. I know I did. I took a good year managing to get my sleep schedule down to, alright, I can comfortably wake up at 7:30 every day. And then fucking, work happens like, alright, get up at 5:30 now. Okay. Still on this depressing backstory, how bad has it gotten since her mom getting the divorce news from a magazine? Not so bad, really? Especially not compared to last time. It's now a year later, and her dad has decided to bring her back to their main home. Like, back to her home. His home kind of thing. He's being very nice to her. Even setting her up in a prestigious all-girls school. She's not sure why, but she knows something's up. At most, she's just very glad to finally be out of her grandparents' place. She even took a box cutter and cut up all of her clothes she had at her grandparents' place. Just literally all of it. Which, if that's not a sign she hated it, well, I don't know what is.
I could hear the whispers from all sides. Entering the classroom, I sat quietly at an open desk as far from the others as possible. There was an improvement in one regard. The talk about me wasn't particularly cruel or hostile.
訳ありなのよね。ええ、ちょっとお近づきには。
But essentially, I was treated just like before. My classmates interacted with me in a businesslike way when necessary, and otherwise largely pretended I wasn't there. A school full of young ladies from upper-crust families was surprisingly uncomfortable in its own way. Having completed my formulaic introduction and the first day of classes, I found myself instinctively heading for the rooftop. After gazing up for a moment, I settled down against a concrete support near the edge of the roof and took out my sketchbook. I began to draw the sky above me. A simple pencil hatching, rendering the clouds and sky in shades of gray. That afternoon, I couldn't stand to look at the world. Anything my eyes settled on repulsed me. That empty sky was the only thing I could bring myself to observe calmly. The driver held open the front door to the house for me. I was delivered to school and back. I didn't even have to open my own doors anymore. That extreme courtesy only intensified my discomfort.
お帰りなさいませ。
The household employees greeted me with smiles so soft and mild it was slightly nauseating. When I answered with a brief nod, they began to bombard me with words in rapid succession, their tone eager and openly professional.
由美子様、何か召し上がりますか？いえ、結構です。部屋へ戻ります。
では、何かお飲み物をお持ちしましょうか。
それも結構です。喉は渇いておりませんから。
それでは何かありましたらお申し付けください。
はい。
Climbing slowly up the stairs, I heaved a heavy sigh. Would they be putting on that sort of show every single day from now on? Their deference was so transparently artificial that it was painful rather than flattering. Given my current position, it just might be possible to order them to stop acting like that. But I didn't know what repercussions that would have, especially if they were reported to my father. I ended up deciding it was best not to make waves at such an early stage. I'd been able to postpone it for one day with excuses about my fatigue, but the time had come.
久しぶりだね。こうして由美子と食事をとるのは。
A glass of wine in one hand, my father turned a radiant smile on me.
はい。
Inside my head, I spat out the words, "It's the first time." From the moment I sat down in front of that luxurious dinner and my beaming father, I was immediately filled with a desperate longing to flee. I tried a little of the sautéed duck on my plate just to kill a few seconds, but it seemed strangely tasteless and without texture.
学園の先生から褒められたよ。転入する際の成績が抜群だったとね。これなら学校間のレベル差はほとんど関係ないとのことだ。
Alright, well, we knew she was smart.
My father, still maintaining the same cheerful tone as the night before, complimented me at great length.
はい。
All I could manage was a nod and mechanically shovel the food placed in front of me into my mouth. Course after course, and I couldn't taste a thing. Had they even put any salt on these? It was like eating hunks of rubber. Carrying things to my mouth solely for the sake of chewing on them didn't make for a pleasant dining experience. Gradually, I began to ignore my plate in favor of frequent sips of water.
気持ち悪い。
The tasteless food, Dad's barrage of praise, and myself sitting there passively, just accepting it all. Everything about this scene made me sick. My emotions only grew darker with every passing minute. This was all some bizarre whim of my father's. That, or a meaningless ceremony he was carrying out in the pursuit of some hidden objective. What else could it possibly be?
This would just be hell. Sitting there eating just so you don't have to pay attention to the soulless husk in front of you. Yeah! Ugh, that's uncomfortable dinner, that's for sure.
由美子、髪はずっと伸ばしているのか？
No, I took a box cutter to it a year ago because, mother wished for a boy because you wished for a boy. Yeah, that happened. But you wouldn't know that, right? I felt my breath catch in my throat. That summer day. The day when the heat had poured down on me like a rain of molten iron. The The moment when I had clawed at my chest and hacked at my own hair in a spasm of self-loathing. It all came flooding vividly back.
はい。
I almost told him I'd cut it short once. But what would be the point of explaining that to this man? It would only throw his little play into chaos. What on earth did my father mean by asking me a question like that? Why bring up the very thing that had always marked me as worthless?
そうか。とてもよく似合ってるよ。
My father, a smile on his face, spoke those words in a casual tone of voice.
Yumiko.
すみません。
Rising from my seat, I ran out of the room, both hands pressed tightly across my mouth. Oh my gosh, she's gonna throw up from that?
おい、何か体に合わないものがあったんじゃないのか。
I could hear my father snarling at someone behind me, but I didn't have time to be worried about that.
Oh, wow, she threw up from him saying that. Damn. Oh. I didn't need to hear that.
Acid burned my mouth as I vomited the tasteless food out into the toilet bowl. None of it had the slightest flavor going down, but coming back up, it was powerfully unpleasant. It seemed a bit unfair somehow.
何を勝手なこと。
Oh, God. Wasn't my sex the entire reason he'd cast Mom aside? What on earth was my father thinking? How could he say that? Why? He'd never even looked at me before. This had to be some kind of whim. He decided to play house for a while to appease his guilty conscience. Either that, or he needed to do so for some work-related reason.
ここもひどい。
How long would it take before I could find a safe haven? This was no better than living with my grandparents. No. In the countryside, at least I wasn't expected to do anything. There were expectations of me here. That made it even more agonizing.
何もしたくないの。
Tasting the acid rising once more from the depths of my throat, I descended into self-pity. I would truly have preferred to shut myself up in a dark shed, to reject the world and do nothing at all for the rest of my life. But so long as I needed food to eat and a bed to sleep in, I had no choice but to play along with my father's momentary kindness. The thought triggered a new wave of nausea.
Oh my god. God, the sad music just keeps fucking going. Holy shit.
1 week passed. People often say that time flies when you're having fun. Perhaps it's true, but those first 7 days seemed to last a century. Hanging my bag next to the desk, I pull out my notes and textbooks. I was as isolated and out of place as ever in my new school. I had been studying a good deal, but that was simply my way of killing the vast stretches of otherwise painfully empty time I spent here. It certainly had absolutely nothing to do with my father's praise. I hadn't sketched for a few days now. For one thing, the weather had been dull and gray, so I couldn't look up without remembering that day. And I just hadn't been in the mood in the first place. Even if I opened my sketchbook today, I'd only end up with another drawing of the sky. As if I didn't have enough of those already. Those vaguely self-mocking thoughts stopped me on my way up to the roof, redirecting my path down to the lower floor. My life was a steady line from one meaningless moment to the next. Identical days trickled by. But there was one thing that had begun to change in the course of that week. Human beings are frighteningly adaptable creatures. The meals with my father had at first repulsed me to the point of vomiting were gradually growing tolerable. Sometimes I hated myself for that. But little by little, I was coming to understand that it wasn't just the result of my mind acclimatize, acclimatizing itself to the situation. God, why is that so hard to say?
Yumiko, 学校には慣れたか？
はい。
いきなりの転校で戸惑ったかもしれんが、すぐに友達もできる。お父さんの時もだな。
Stockholm, to be honest. Oh, yeah, probably.
My father was making a genuine effort. With gentle advice and anecdotes about his own experiences, he tried to reassure me. Apparently, Dad had gone through many transfers in his student years, and always struggled with how to present himself to his new classmates.
Okay, interesting. Actually calling him Dad and not Father. That's definitely a change already. Just her inner talks calling him Dad. That's something. That's already a change. Any other time, it's my father, my father, my father. Never Dad. Oh, there's a my father again. But it's not like a capitalized father as in father. That my father as in like a name. That's just like father as in just a person at that point. You know what I'm trying to say, exactly. She's not referring to her dad as her father, as in, Father, can you come hither? Just saying, oh yeah, my father. That kind of way of talking. I noticed that. It probably happened earlier at some point, but I just noticed it now, so yeah. You gotcha? Okay, good. At least someone understands my ramblings.
I was beginning to learn a number of surprisingly personal things about my father as he persistently tried to draw me into conversation.
ああ、そうか。今は時代も違うだろうからな。すまなかったな、ユミコ。
いいえ。
And he wasn't pushy or arrogant about it. He always seemed to be considering my point of view. Just as I'd heard, Dad was on an extremely tight schedule. Even when he returned home, it was extremely rare for him to stay overnight. More frequently, he would return to his company immediately after dinner. But that also meant he was coming home solely to share a meal with me. I gradually grew less prickly and slightly more communicative. By now, I could eat dinner with him without a hint of queasiness.
どうしたユミコ？
いえ、何でも。
Just as something was about to spill out of my mouth, Mom's pale, empty face had flashed before my eyes. I silently reminded myself, this man is responsible for my mother's suffering. That fundamental resentment hadn't faded. I wouldn't let it fade.
Yeah, he is putting in an effort, and again, her referring to him as dad in her own, narration and monologue is telling that she is becoming more comfortable. He's just not my father. He's dad. So that's something. 100% Stockholm, yes. But I mean, he is kind of putting that effort in. Though clearly it's going to be for something down the line that he's just doing. It's just a long-term goal for him. Whatever.
Lying in bed in my darkened room, I thought things over. I was no less uncertain than when I first arrived at that place. But the reasons for that inner turmoil were beginning to change. My father's attitude toward me was becoming harder to process. At first, I'd simply been disgusted by his overfamiliarity. But by that point, it was harder to dismiss as some bizarre game. Sometimes I could almost take his friendliness as face value. Even that remark about my hair might have been intended as nothing more than a casual compliment. Such positive interpretations were beginning to seem plausible.
そんなの今更よ。
I tried mumbling negative words to myself, but the nagging doubts remained. My distant mother had grown kind when her condition improved. The situation was clearly different, but there was always the possibility my father had undergone a similar change in the years since I'd last seen him. Or seen him last, whatever. I got the same point across. Tossing and turning in my bed, I turned the questions over in my mind. I'd been so cold for so long. But little by little, I could feel something like warmth returning to my body. I'll just end up being betrayed again. This time will be different. With two opposing answers battling indecisively in my mind, I waited for dawn to come. Okay, is everything gonna go to shit soon? I feel like something's gonna go to shit. 2 months after my return to Tokyo, my life was beginning to change even outside of the house. School didn't seem particularly unpleasant anymore. It wasn't so difficult being alone in that place once you get used to it. So long as I quietly attended my classes, the entire day would pass easily enough. I never disliked studying, so once my mood took a turn for the better, it didn't feel like wasted time. To me, that uncertainty about how your parents feel about you when you're a child is more terrifying than them just being flat out Yeah, the uncertainty is the worst part, definitely the worst part of it. At least if, you know they're kind, you know they're a terrible person, yeah, you know where they stand, you can, deal with it from there. But that uncertainty is the worst part, because you're always overthinking, double thinking, just everything. It's just so many things go into it. Not knowing a definitive answer is absolutely worse than straight up knowing. The change in the seasons had brought more periods of clear weather. I'd resumed my habit of drawing on a daily basis. And as my mind grew calm, my art slowly began to change as well. My perspective, pointed straight up for so long, began to creep downward. Every once in a while, I'd include a townscape or two among my sketches. It wasn't exactly principled of me to be finding enjoyment in that life, but there was no point in sulking forever. My sardonic feelings of self-reproach slowly faded. I began to look at the world around me more calmly.
お帰りなさいませ。
ただいま。
Even those brutally awkward interactions with the household employees had gotten more tolerable with the passage of time. After a few weeks, they picked up on my non-reactions and began to tone down their aggressive approach. They would generally back off after letting me know they were available if I needed them. That arrangement was much more comfortable for me. By then, I was actually asking them for something every once in a while.
今日は部屋へすぐ戻られますか？ええ、そのようにします。かしこまりました。
After asking the maid to have someone call me when it was time for dinner, I returned to my room. Sitting down in front of my desk, I thought back over the last few months. My attitudes toward that new life were beginning to soften in many ways. The one exception, I was stubbornly continuing to keep my father at an arm's length. His behavior hadn't changed. He continued to treat me kindly all the while. Nonetheless, I offered him nothing but brief, monosyllabic answers, vaguely avoiding his questions. That had seemed only natural at first. What else could he expect after how he treated my mother? After abandoning me for years? That resentment seemed to justify my behavior. But months had passed, and I just couldn't see any sign of the cruel man I thought he was. At least, not when he was interacting with me. Nearly every night, I rejected his gentle attempts to draw me into conversation. My father didn't seem to be letting that bother him, but I was beginning to feel increasingly guilty about my attitude.
どうしたらいいのかしら。
I threw the question up at my ceiling, knowing all too well that no answer would be forthcoming. It would be time for dinner soon. For a very different reason than before, I started to find that time somewhat painful.
今日も由美子の話題が出てな。榊さんのお嬢さんは可愛くて聡明でいらっしゃると目黒医大の先生もおっしゃってたよ。
Really laying it on thick there, aren't you, Michiaki?
はい。
由美子がこんなにいい子に育って父さんも嬉しいよ、本当に。
This man had interacted with me as something close to an ideal father for 2 straight months. That day, as always, all that came out of his mouth were words of praise and concern for me. Uneasy feelings smoldered away and quietly inside my chest.
なあ、由美子。
My father spoke to me in a kind tone of voice. I couldn't endure his gaze. I found myself hanging my head.
由美子。
I didn't dislike being praised. Not at all. He was making time in an extremely busy life for me. I wasn't yet cynical enough to dismiss that. Sometimes I felt myself on the verge of being grateful.
ごめんなさい。
But no. Not yet. That black grime was still inside me. There was always that other emotion struggling against my guilt. So long as that remained, I would never allow myself to get any closer to my father.
母さんのことか。
Oh boy, okay, he's bringing her up.
I felt myself twitch with surprise. Until that point, I had deliberately steered clear of that particular topic. I'd assumed my father was intentionally avoiding it as well, so the turn of the conversation came as a real shock.
話して良いものかずっと迷っていたが、ちゃんと話さないとユミコも納得してはくれないということ
Alright,
なん
old
だ
man.
ろうな。
What do you gotta say here? What are you gonna say?
そんな私は。
いいんだ。これは父さんが悪かったんだ。
Okay, you actually mean that? Or you just say it to say it?
My father slowly began to speak. He spoke about his feelings toward my mother, how it felt when she left, and behind everything, the constant stress his incredibly demanding job had placed on their marriage. Everything my father told me turned my image of him completely on its head.
二人が出て行った時、本当に辛かったよ。連れ戻しに行こうって何度も思った。でも仕事に追われてそれができなかった。
In time, my increasingly isolated father began to seek comfort. He admitted that the affair described in the magazine article had happened at that time.
父さんも寂しかったんだ。会社でもいろいろとあって、いけないことと知りつつも母さんを裏切るようなことをしてしまった。雑誌に記事が出たと聞いたとき、一番に考えたのは母さんを巻き込んではいけないということだったんだ。それで弁護士を向かわせたんだが。
It was consistent. The actions that had seemed so inhumanely cruel at the time could also be explained by my father's story. After all, that lawyer never got the chance to speak with my mother. There was no proof he'd been sent to serve her with divorce papers. But even so...
Yumiko.
My father looked straight at my face from across the table.
This man is playing some kind of long fucking game just to get her trust. Like, he's playing some long con here. It's just, when is that gonna actually come to light? I know it. I know he's just trying to butter her up. That's all he's doing. And he's been doing it for 2 months straight? Oh. The undying patience is most sus. Yeah.
I couldn't help myself. I returned his gaze. At some point, I'd forgotten even to avert my eyes.
お父さんを許してくれないか。
It was a gentle voice. I'd begun to think I would never hear a voice like that ever again. From anyone. And yet it was coming from him. The persons whose acceptance, in a way, I'd always wanted most.
The stinks of it, also the fact he finally got a son he wanted and there's no mention of him, he just butters up his daughter instead. If he was genuine, he'd be parading the son around. He'd want both his kids. Yeah. Yeah, something happened with the son, 100%.
Many thoughts flooded into my head in a confused jumble. Those words were more than powerful enough. My fragile defensive wall had finally sprung a leak.
Either the son died or it wasn't his. Yeah, one of the two, for sure.
Yumiko.
ごめんなさい、お父さん。ちょっと、私。
I stood from my chair, turned away from that concerned face, and hurried out to the hallway. Halfway covering my face with my right hand, I stumbled up the stairs as best I could. On the way up, I caught a glimpse of a servant staring at me in shock, but I wasn't composed enough to pay that any mind. The world was growing hazy before I even reached my floor.
Okay. Besides the fact she's crying, she's dressed really cutely. She was dressed very cute, but also, she's crying. Steam CG? This is a Steam CG! What was the original CG? The way Asia is, I do think he's buttering up to marry her off to a rich family or something to get a male heir through her. Possibly. There wasn't a CG for this moment. Props to you, Steam. This is actually a good one. It's sad, but you know what? I do like it. That's neat. Okay.
And the instant I closed the door to my room behind me, the tears came pouring down my face. One drop stained the ivory carpet beneath my feet. Then another.
お父さん、あんなこと。
This is like a happy cry, I think. A sort of happy / confused cry. Not the sad, self-loathing cry she had after her mom said, "Why couldn't you be a boy?"
It was hard to understand. I couldn't reconcile the man with the vicious, vulgar person the magazines described. There were so many things about him that confused me. But I couldn't believe he'd spoken those words for show. It sounded as if they'd come from the heart. Just as Mom had come to regret the cruel things she said to me, perhaps Dad was simply trying to make up for his mistakes. Looking at it from that angle, it wouldn't be so hard to accept his apology.
いいのかな。ねえ、お母さん。
I had one photograph of my mother left, safe in the memory of my mobile phone. But as always, her face was turned to the side. I couldn't read her expression.
今度こそ幸せになっても。
My life had been shades of gray for so very long. Little by little, I could see colors beginning to emerge. It was a pleasant feeling.
Oh my god, they're still going. Now we have an actual date, 2010 apparently. We still have the sad music. Also, hang in, Bear, you're nearly there. I'm nearly there? Okay. I'm trusting you, man. I'm trusting you.
The air was still a little cold, but the sky that day was remarkably beautiful. Putting down my brush, I stretched out and muttered a few words to no one in particular.
今日はこのぐらいにしておこうかしら。
Recently, I'd been getting so absorbed in my art that it's easy to forget the time. There had been a few incidents where I kept my car waiting long enough to cause some anxiety, so I started making a conscious effort to check my watch frequently.
Oh, thank fuck how dark this one is. We all end up with PTSD if this goes on for any... Yeah, this goes... Nevermore. Amane's was incredibly fucking long, and it was just watching like a dozen girls slowly starve to death before eating each other.
Hey, Super Chill, how's it going, buddy? Welcome back in. Hi, Ruby. I examined my sketchbook. Instead of the sky that I'd been devoted to for so long, today I painted the rooftop flower bed.
So glad I wasn't there for that. It was something. I mean, me and Mochi kind of briefly talked about it at the beginning. Well, not briefly. But it is a very well done backstory. It's just upsetting. It's just a little bad that great story for Amane's backstory was like 90% of her route. That's like a big demerit, I'd say. Most of her route was just spent on backstory.
It's a Gundam!
No, it's a Grisaia.
こんなのが書けるようになったのね。
This is getting you Amane's backstory would land you in a silent. Oh boy, lord. The things that were happening in, Amane's were rough, but we all kind of had a big reaction to this one. Just to that earlier part, like, holy fuck.
After months of obsessively sketching the clouds, the change had taken me by surprise. For a while, I just gazed down at the image, various emotions running through me.
いけない時間。
I hurriedly gathered up my painting materials and pushed them into my bag. As it turned out, I was a little slow coming home after all. My life changed rapidly after my father's apology. The dinners together that had once been so painful were now something I looked forward to. I talked to him about many things. My art, formerly sketches of the sky in black pencil, had become increasingly colorful work executed with paintbrushes. Even my life at school was shifting ever so slightly for the better.
榊さん、今ちょっといいかしら。飯田さん、いいわよ。
A girl who stood out even among the young ladies in our class, Ida Kaneko, had begun to approach me on a regular basis.
ここがちょっとわからないんだけど、教えていただけるかしら。古文の現代語訳ね。確かにここは難しいわ。
Story just
ちょっ
gates
と
me.
待ってて。
I bothered dysmorphia. My own father was never ready to be one. It made it blatantly clear to me with no shadow of a doubt that I am not what he would have wanted as a daughter if he had... Yeah. That's unfortunate. That is unfortunate, and I am sorry you've had to deal with that. Oh, well, as we've slowly learned through Grisaia, it does like to delve into these very real topics. It treats them very, like, with actual care, not as a joke kind of thing. It does become very heavy, and people can relate to it in certain ways. When Grisaia is just being fun and making a joke out of it, it is very fun in that way. When it gets to the more serious and heavy stuff, it does get to it does get very heavy. It's two very different extremes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you are valid and you are loved here. You're absolutely loved here no matter what. I wish this music would not be so sad. Because I'm still expecting something bad to happen. Like, almost certainly something bad is going to happen. That's how these backstories always go.
had struck up a conversation about our work in art class one day, and had been talking like this pretty frequently ever since. She wasn't quite a friend yet, but up until then, I almost never had actual conversations in school with anyone but the teachers. By my standards, it was an enormous step forward. Gave him more than enough chances, but he cut the cord and told me to get out of my life 13 years ago and felt better for it. No. It's good. Good on you, then. Just say good on you for, doing what believe is best for yourself. Honestly, that's all anyone can ask for, is doing what is best for you.
榊さんの説明には無駄がなくていいわ。そんな、私はただ普通に話しているだけよ。そんなことないわよ。先生とか向いてるかもね。
I could probably see Sakaki as a teacher. Probably. She is quite smart. Could probably teach fairly well. Yeah, honestly, I could see Sakaki as a teacher. I just could.
A perfectly normal, unremarkable little scene. But in comparison to the emptiness of my life before then, those moments made every day feel astonishingly fresh and new.
Otosan, おかえりなさい。
ああ、ただいま、ユミコ。
That's why I think telling stories like these are important. They educate people of the struggles some of us go through but can't really announce due to any reason. Hopefully in the effort of encouraging people to be better and to condemn those who abuse people mentally or physically. Nailed it on the head there, Moch.
Dad was still an incredibly busy man. Nonetheless, he would always come home at least a few times every week to have dinner with me. I used to only see his face during the meal itself, but recently I'd started greeting him at the door with a natural smile on my face.
今日はね、飯田さんとずっとお話ししていて。
おお、前に言っていた友達のことだね。
まだ友達とかじゃないんだけど。
Previously, my father had talked and talked while I offered only brief responses, but the situation was largely reversed. I told Dad about everything, every trivial little thing in my life. No matter what the topic, he never failed to hear me out with a smile. That made me happy.
なあ、ユミコ。
どうしたの、お父さん。
美佐子が治ったら、3人で海外旅行にでも行くか。
Oh, bringing up the mom.
忙しくてそういうことをしてあげられなかったからな。それとも何か別のことがいいか？
私、遊園地がいいな。
An amusement. Okay, that's adorable. I'm guessing the sun wasn't his and he is now shooting blanks. Possibly.
遊園地？そんなのいつだって行けるだろ
う。うん、そこがいいの。
My father looked mystified. Still, I stuck to my guns. When I was very small and very lonely, the idea of a family visit to an amusement park had enchanted me.
At least if he marries her off, he gains the son he wanted, sort. Yeah. There is also a thing in Japan, I believe, of just literally adopting someone just for business purposes. Like someone will, some business guy who doesn't actually have any kids of his own or feels his kids aren't worthy enough will, find someone in his company that he sees the promise in, raise them up, and will formally adopt them. So it's like You are now legally my son, and I can hand this over to you as an inheritance kind of thing. That is a thing. I'm pretty sure, at least. Like, weird little things like that. Just adopting a grown-ass man so they can, you know, carry on your legacy the way you want it carried on. Either because I don't have kids or my kids are disappointments. Not necessarily Japan exclusive practice. That can happen in a lot of places in the world. That just seems... I feel like most examples come from Japan, from what I can kind of recall.
I was well past the age to be begging for a trip like that, but that secret yearning had never really gone away.
そうか。わかった。父さんの会社の系列にも遊園地はあるからな。それこそ貸し切りで行こうか。
God damn.
そんなのじゃなくていい。普通にでいいから。
由美子はいつも控えめだな。よし。じゃあ美佐子が母さんが治ったら3人で遊園地に行くか。
Dad spoke those words with a smile.
Japan and China mostly, considering China is very male heir only, with the daughters are as good as... Yeah, true. That's a thing.
It was the first time I'd asked him for anything. Even as my days became happier, I'd been careful not to say anything greedy. Anything about the things I wanted.
And the Greeks too? Huh. Well, I mean, I don't live in Greece, so I wouldn't know that part of my family's culture in that regard. I only know the Canadian Greek side of it, not the just full-on Greek side of it.
I suppose... I couldn't quite believe that tranquil life was real. If I asked too much of the dream, I was afraid I might just fall apart underneath me.
今日は父さんとそんな話をした。
Ever since that day, the size of my diary entries had increased exponentially. Where I used to write, "Nothing happened," again and again, ripping off the bottom of the page for scrap paper, now I was often running out of space before I could cover everything. And in the center of my room, a canvas stood on an easel, surrounded by a colorful array of art supplies. All things I'd purchased and used frequently.
もう本当に大丈夫よね。
Plot twist, it wasn't.
Will something happen again? Will it fall apart in the blink of an eye? Everything was so peaceful at times it made me uneasy. Come to think of it, those few days before my mother was scheduled to leave the hospital had felt very much the same.
最後出しておこうかな。
I hope this lasts forever. I'm quite sure I scribbled those words at the end of my diary entry. It was the one small wish I would allow myself.
Then what happened?
The rainy season had come and gone. Summer was fast approaching. It was a day like any other. Reading on the internet that the weather would be taking a turn for the worse in the afternoon, I called off my usual rooftop painting session and went home a little early.
ここで止めてもらっていいですか？
いいんですか。まだ少し歩きますが。
今日はちょっと歩きたい気分なので。
They said it would be raining in the evening, but for the moment it was a pleasant afternoon, well suited to a bit of light exercise. Therefore, I got out of the car halfway and walked the remaining kilometer or so home.
That shouldn't take too long.
There wasn't any real reason for that. It was just a whim.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. The bad music's playing, guys. Why is it all gonna go to shit now?
When I opened the front door and slipped inside, I found the entrance hall empty of the servants who were usually there to greet me.
誰もいない。
Yeah, it was probably because I'd returned so suddenly. Even when I closed the door behind me, the hallway remained silent.
台所の方にでもいるのかしら。
Not that it really bothered me either way. I began to move toward the stairs.
ですので、そちらについても由美子様に気づかれないようにしています。
Huh?
But a voice from deeper in the hallway stopped me in my tracks. If that woman hadn't happened to speak my name at that very moment, without a doubt, I would have shrugged, gone up the stairs to my room, and stayed completely oblivious.
私のこと？
I slowly inched my way down the passage, careful not to make a sound, and stopped just before a corner. From the other side, I could hear the 3 employees who usually meet me at the door talking about something.
今のところ問題なく進んでいるようだな。
はい。由美子様もすっかり旦那様に懐いているようです。
Oh my god.
そうか。ならばいい。旦那様からは引き続き動向に注意しろと言われている。何かあったらすぐに報告するようにな。
わかりました。
They were speaking quietly, but I can make out their conversation clearly enough.
何のことを言っているの？
I shouldn't be listening to this. My throbbing heart was making that very clear. But my feet wouldn't budge, and my ears were intent on capturing every word of their discussion.
しかし、こういう逆転劇もあるのね。びっくりしちゃった。
後継ぎの息子が急逝したから、
No.
子供の中で一番成績のいい操りやすそうなあの子を引っ張ってくるとか、わかりやすいわよね、旦那様も。
Oh. Okay.
あの愛人、息子の亡くなった当日に出てったみたいよ。
Yeah, you did call it Nevermore.
そりゃ居場所なくしちゃうわよね。
My body had begun to tremble. It was a part of the story I'd almost pushed out of my mind by now. That mistress. And the boy she'd supposedly given birth to.
泣く？
I'd always thought it was strange. Why had Dad called for me when he did? Why suddenly approach a daughter you'd tossed aside once before?
旦那様もやることが徹底してるわよね。興信所使ってまであの子の情報を仕入れてさ、さも自分がちゃんと見ていたかのような取り繕い方して。
Oh my god, are you fucking kidding me?
I thought that attention was his way of atoning for my mother's suffering.
今まで全然興味すらなかったのにね。そういうふりしなきゃあの子に取り入れないから必死なのよ。
Fuck.
一種の洗脳プログラムよね、あれ。最初はぎこちなく接するふりして、その後確信をついて打ち解ける。専門家まで呼んで策を練ったそうね。
Oh, guess what? I hate Michiaki even fucking more now.
I thought that was his attempt at finally becoming a father to me.
それにあっさりと騙されるお嬢様か。
No. I simply convinced myself it had to be that way. deep down, I knew all along that it couldn't possibly have been true.
おい、やめないか。そろそろそのお嬢様の戻られる時間だ。
はいはい。
This guy's a turd. He's getting on the game characters to loathe your soul list. Yep, I can agree with that.
ちょっと前までどうでもいい存在だったのに、道具として利用価値が出た瞬間にこれだもの。すごい世界よね。
で、またどっかで男の子が生まれた瞬間、一気にお払い箱になると。
At least she's not mocking him. Oh my. Yeah, so far, fucking Sakaki's dad and Makina's mom are terrible fucking parents. But at least Michiaki didn't fucking put out a hit on his own child. I mean, granted, technically she didn't either, but she could have stopped it, but just decided, no, it's still gonna happen. Whatever. I don't care. I don't care if my daughter dies. Kill all the babies. Hey, Eddie, how's it going?
そっか、その手がまだあったか。
見てみたいわよね、その表変する瞬間。
おい、いい加減にしないか。
はいはい。
With that languid response, the group dispersed. Even long after the footsteps faded away, I stood there in silence, perfectly still. An idle question occurred to me. What sort of an expression do I have on my face right now? What sort of expression do people make at times like these? I felt oddly detached from reality, as though watching a movie projected before my eyes by some hidden camera. Eventually, I took one step, then another. I dragged myself up the stairs on legs that didn't feel like my own. They said it would be raining in the evening, but the afternoon was pleasant, well suited to a bit of light exercise. Therefore, I got out of the car halfway and walked the remaining kilometer or so home. There wasn't any real reason for that. There wasn't any real reason at all. And so, I could only curse God. I reached my room. It was far too quiet inside. I'd almost begun to forget how painful the absence of sound could be.
Get tinnitus and you'll live with silence. Silence you'll never get.
I'd almost begun to find the silence comfortable.
よし、じゃあ美佐子が母さんが治ったら3人で遊園地に行くか。
なんでそんなことを平然と言えるの？
Oh god, she has the box cutter.
Scraps of notebook paper danced around me. Fragments of the word dad. Fragments of the word happy. Fragments of sentences highlighted in bright colors. Months and months of my life scattered through the air. The upper half of my painting was thick with dabs of blue and yellow paint. That was the first part to go. With a harsh rip, the cloth tore away from one of the screws holding it in place. And as the canvas curled in on itself, white paint fell to the ground like a dusting of snow. In the lightless room, white, blue, and yellow flew about. Shattered and torn, powerless and broken, they melted one by one into the darkness.
Oh my god, now what? How is this not over yet?
Unable to think, unable to act, I endured the night. The time came for me to wake up. Acting on pure reflexive habit, I stood up on unsteady feet and made my preparations. Pathetically enough, there was still a part of me holding on to hope. The house was no longer a refuge. I had begun to make a small place for myself at school. I could just make more friends. Find people to talk to. Maybe that would be enough. Maybe that would be something.
飯田さん
I caught a glimpse of the face I was looking for from the hallway. Ida-san might be willing. If I kept talking to her, little by little, she might become my friend.
ですって。それで
Oh no, don't tell me she's an asshole too.
Ida-san seemed to be talking to somebody. I peered in through the window. She was sitting at the very center of a group of girls. I'd just have to talk to her later, when she was alone.
榊さんって愛人の子なんだってお父様が
The child of a mistress. Those were the same hateful words they'd printed in the magazine that changed everything.
まだちょっとあの子に優しくしておこうかと思うの。
どうしてそんなことするの？そんな子だったらなおさら無視しておけば。
Oh my god.
だってそうしたらもっと興味深い話が聞けるかもしれないじゃない。どうやって榊の家に母親が取り入ったのかとか。それでね。
Oh my god.
For some reason, I thought of fruit hanging from a tree. At first it ripens and swells on the end of its branch, beautiful and tempting. But in time, its coloration grows impure and unattractive. Its point of connection to the tree begins to creak from the strain. One thread of fiber snaps, then another. The thin line holding it to life and nourishment grows thinner and thinner. And finally, this moment.
What the fuck did she just do?
I heard something fall.
What the fuck is she about to do?
I entered the classroom. The girls who had been snickering about me until a moment before innocently looked away and moved on to another topic of conversation. A few moments after dropping my bag by my desk, I slowly began to walk in their direction. I felt every movement of my feet with a brilliant, eerie clarity. This might be what it's like to take the last few steps toward the summit of a high mountain. A climber has the thrill of achieving something, but in the determination, the clear-minded acceptance of fate, there might be something similar. Or so I thought, a spectator to my own actions.
あら、榊さん、何のご用かしら？
Ida Kaneko turned to face me with her usual placid smile. I had already decided what would happen next.
What is she planning to fucking do? I'm scared. I don't want to hit enter to see what the fuck happens next. I feel like she's gonna do something terrible. Content warning, I'm assuming? Possibly? I feel like this is gonna be really bad. This poor girl is just a magnet for the biggest turds. I don't know what's gonna happen, guys. I feel like it's gonna go very, very bad, so just, hang on. Oh no. Oh no, oh no, 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 no. She's not... Please do not tell me she brought the box cutter to fucking school. If she's about to do what I fucking think she's about to do, actual straight up content warnings, this is probably gonna be graphic. I hope it isn't, but it's probably gonna be graphic. So, warning.
Familiar feelings swelled inside me. The same as when I'd cut my hair, my diary, my canvas.
どうしたの榊さん。お顔の色がよろしくないわ。先生に。
Oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no. Oh, I don't want to keep going.
Ida Kaneko's hand reached out to me. To my eyes, it looked like the grasping claw of a corpse pulling me down into hell. I'd understood all along. I'd simply kept myself from noticing. There was never any place of refuge here. I'd forced myself to believe in lies because I couldn't keep going without them. But I'd finally found another way to live.
She actually fucking did it? Okay. That just happened. Okay. Yeah, she did it. She definitely just did that. I am gonna be half expecting some screaming to follow suit right now.
I watched serenely as the blood spurted out.
Oh gosh, I didn't even realize it happened yet.
For a moment, she couldn't even process what had happened. For just a moment, she stared down blankly at her hand. At her palm, dyed in red.
There's the screaming.
Ida Kaneko collapsed in slow motion. Desks clattered all around. The others backed away as if distancing themselves from a live bomb.
榊さん。あなた一体何してるの？先生、誰か呼んできて、先生を。
In her defense, she had to handle a whole lot of traumas all at once. This poor girl is Yeah. I didn't That was a lot. Okay.
That's right. I should have cut it all apart. I should have just shut off my brain and cut my way to freedom. I was grinding my teeth as hard as I could. There were tears streaming down my face. But all things considered, I didn't feel particularly sad. Much the opposite. Since the blade had finally severed me from the lies, I was filled with a strange sense of relief. It felt as though my wide, shining road forward had been revealed to me.
Good fucking why?
そうよね。こうなるのよね。
I shouldn't have hoped for a happy ending in the first place. Everything was scripted from the very start. And the actress had passively accepted her role, dreaming of a heartwarming conclusion to the black comedy that had been written for her.
Yeah, she's broken. She snapped.
At some point, I'd begun to laugh. The tears were still rolling down my cheeks, but there was no sadness in me anymore. I'd left most of that behind on the day my mother broke, and the rest on the day my father betrayed me.
She's gonna get a happy ending, right? The person she's telling us all to, right? I hope I can!
I depleted my stock of sorrow. Just how much of a clown do I need to be? Just how pathetic do I need to become? What do I need to do to satisfy my cowering audience? To please the god who wrote this play? Their eyes watched me from what felt like an enormous distance, pushing me lower and lower into the dirt. I brandished the open box cutter in my right hand toward the back of the classroom. Incoherent little shrieks from my classmates were the only response. A few girls had already broken down in tears.
I freaked out, but the only way I could cope with this is just to, like, go on and go full crazy, too.
I laughed in their place, even when the teachers who came running pinned me down. Even when they carried me out of the classroom like some sort of terrorist. Wouldn't it be odder not to laugh at something so utterly ridiculous? When they took me away, I noticed my desk standing isolated in the chaos, and felt a twinge of pity at leaving it behind. Until the very end, I could never see the person who supposedly sat there. My father acted swiftly once he was notified. A settlement was reached with the Ida family. The incident was erased without so much as a disciplinary hearing.
Joker, you missed one. Oh my god. Just so it's clear, she only cut that girl's hand, right? She didn't slit her throat or anything. Yeah, just her hand. Just cut her hand, supposedly.
At first, my father tried to coax me out of my locked room with gentle words, but I refused to acknowledge his existence. After more than a month of that siege, I was half forced out, loaded unceremoniously into a car, and brought to a town where the air smelled of salt water.
Ah, okay. That's what brought her to Mihama.
I understood what sort of place it was the moment I saw the high wall surrounding it. It was a housing facility. A pleasant little cage where I could be safely stowed away without the risk of causing further trouble. A woman who introduced herself as the principal introduced me to the school with a slightly fearful expression on her face. She brought me to an empty dormitory and told me it would be my new home. When I checked the bank book I'd been handed on the way over, I found a rather excessive amount of pocket money in my account. From the day I began to wear an exceptionally flashy school uniform and commute to Mihama Academy, I hadn't been face to face with my father even once.
Oh my god, are we back in the present finally? Oh my fucking.
セーブするわ。
Oh. That was rough. Again. They must be soaked sitting in the rain for all that time. They were under the bridge of a railway. Oh my god, like... This has been a trip and a half. And then some. Now we're fucking finally back in the present. Oh, good fucking god. And there's still more route to go. But, I think I've had enough of that for today. I've definitely had enough of that for today. That was just a lot. So yes, you can understand why Yumiko, how she is, why she's so cold-hearted and also likes to attack Yuji with a fucking box cutter and threaten everyone with a box cutter. Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. Fuck. Yeah, she's definitely been through a lot, like, you know, literal hell and back. Granted, all the girls have been through hell and back at this rate. Oh my god. Yeah, it was very, very heavy. I hope everyone's doing okay, by the way. I honestly, I meant to ask as we were going through this, but I hope everyone's doing okay after me going through all that, because that was just... Yikes. That was just a lot. That was just so much. What the fuck? What the fuck, Grisaia? Yeah. Anyway, let's just kind of move on then. What is on the docket for tomorrow? Ah, yes, that is right. The continuation of mine and Jen's collab for Doki Doki Literature Club Plus. Yeah, we're gonna go from one trauma to the next. Sorry I pushed you a bit today. I knew you only had a little bit. No worries, Mochi. No worries. I wanted to finish the backstory regardless. If I stopped where I felt like I was probably gonna stop, like almost an hour ago, It just would have been really weird. It was better to finish it off here after all that. That's like the perfect place to stop it. So it's all good. It's all good, buddy. We're now that one step closer to finishing her route and finishing Fruit of Grisaia. We're close. We're getting there. Now that we got a backstory, we've got like half a route to go. More or less. So, I'm not ready for you to be done with Fruit. Mochi, it's been over a year. I have to finish it at some point. I have 2 other games and 3 DLCs to go through that are all related to Grisaia. I'm almost finished with my first playthrough of Fruit of Grisaia. Almost. This random game I decided to start playing because I wanted something similar to Katawa Shoujo, and this was like the #1 recommended thing. Of all things. And this has so far been one hell of a ride. It was our first common interest. True, very true. You did raid in as I was playing through the game. That is true. Oh, my damn nose. And you have been on this ride with me since, as just, you know, that passenger who's seen it all and just wanting to see what I do next. And I've been doing a lot of reaction to that. Like, fuck. So much shit going on in this game. Oh god, here I am yawning like a madman. God, now my nose is bothering me again. Because of course it is. To be fair, I feel the same when you're done with Digimon Survive. That will take a bit of time. I am approaching about a year for that. Dude. Oh my god, it takes so long to play fucking games. Yeah, the Grisaia series is very special to me. It's what pushed me to affiliate. Nice. Good game to get you there. Can't remember what I was playing when I finally got the affiliate thing. I can't even remember. I know I saw the email while I was streaming. That I had finally gotten it. I just can't remember what I was playing. I would have to look back at 2 years worth of VODs to figure it out. If it's even one of the VODs I ended up actually saving. Is there a clip of you getting it? There isn't a clip of it. I would have to look back at everything I've posted on YouTube to try and find it. But that's a lot. I would have to go back very far because... And I didn't even... and that was actually at the point where I wasn't uploading them as frequently as I do now. That's back in the time when I was just saving them and hoarding them. It was only within the last year I started just bulk uploading everything just so I can get it all off my damn hard drive. We definitely need a collab discussion stream of your thoughts on Fruit with me. Yes! Absolutely, dude. That's kind of what I was thinking. When I'm going through my thoughts of this, I want you fucking there. I want to bounce our, thoughts off on this. Like, 100%. That was, like, what I had in my head of what we would do. Like, that would be our collab, is actually discussing my experience with this entire game with you. And hearing your thoughts on what you think were better routes, not so great routes, what was amazing, what could have been a little bit better, and all that stuff. It's 100% what I was thinking of doing. Like, 100%. And I've learned my fucking stream and internet here can handle having a lot of things open at once, sharing screen, inside a Discord call, having stuff open on Chrome and all that, so... I'm good. I'm set, and I know how to do collabs now. That'll be so hype. It'll be fun and heated discussion. Indeed it will. I will have to prepare notes for myself, though. I can't do everything fully off the top of my head, because there will be a lot of random quiet breaks. I can guarantee it. So I'm going to have to, like, really kind of write down some notes. Just so I'm somewhat prepared. And hey, again, once I do finish it, I can add this to my list of games completed on stream. I got so many listed there now, like... I think it was like... Yeah, it's like 32 I had listed. 32 fucking games that I've completed while streaming. Like, Jesus. 15k points to the best PS2 game. You really want me to play it. You really want me to play Ratchet and Clank. You're getting there, man. You're getting there. Probably also add to that tier list. I could actually add Grisaia in just wherever I place it. Just to keep that tier list, you know, continually updated. It's too good, bro. I believe you. I never grew up with it because I didn't have PlayStation 2 stuff as a kid. I only got it later. And by that point, the PS3 was out for a while. I'm very late on getting everything. That's just how it is. We'll just have to have discussions after all 3 main Grisaia entries. 100%. Like, just 100%. Yeah, 100%. That's exactly what we need to do. I think it'll be fun. It'll be good. Get my side, your side. Jack can chime in. We get something good going there. I definitely like that. Anyway, I gotta charge my bike. I gotta use the bathroom. I gotta eat and drink something and then prepare for work tomorrow morning, as usual. But hey, after tomorrow, I'm off for 2 days. So that means when I get to come home, I just gotta eat some dinner, quickly change, get all semi-decent looking for the next part of the collab with Jen. That'll be fun. I've also got to still skip ahead to make sure I have everything set and ready for what we're doing after I fucked up a save and the game crashed for our other save, which, are you kidding me? After all of that, the fucking game crashed right at the end? I'm gonna blame Monica on that one. I'll always just blame Monica. It's easier that way. So yeah, thank you everybody for watching, commenting, and lurking. I appreciate it very much. Again, I should be back at about 6 o'clock tomorrow for the DDLC Plus collab with Jen. So, I hope everybody has themselves a great rest of their night, and I'll see you next time.